freedom of conscience and religion is being challenged by laws and regulations imposed by secular society. It's time to hear from the top Christian litigators in the nation who have come forward to tell us the truth and help us defend our faith.
Hear ye, hear ye. All rise. Faith on Trial with Defender of the Faith, Deacon Mike Mano, is in session.
And good Thursday morning and happy Cinco de Mayo to everybody out there from the Iowa Catholic Radio Studios. I'm Deacon Mike Mano, and sitting in for Gina today, who ran away again on us, is Julie Nelson. Julie, how you just got off? We switched chairs and now you're back on again.
Yes, I'm wearing many hats today here at Iowa Catholic Radio. It's kind of funny. I just walked around the table, and now I'm on the other side.
Yeah, we have to explain to our listeners. We have to switch sides because one person has to be able to see the red light and the clock.
Right.
And you can only see both those from one side of the room.
And it's nice to be on the other side this time. I'll just say that. I don't have to worry. Think about it.
We got an interesting show today following up on some of the national news that we've heard about with the case, the Dobbs case. It's apparently one of the draft versions of the court ruling has been leaked, and we're going to talk to somebody who's had a little bit of involvement with this Dobbs case. We have Chuck Hurley from the Family Leader who's going to be here. He's general counsel for the Family Leader. And they had their own brief that they filed, an amicus brief in that case. And Chuck was there for the oral argument, and which is kind of interesting. And so he will be on after our first break here to talk to us a little bit about what's going on and what he thinks is happening and whatever.
It'll be nice to hear from somebody who's been there in before the court. So.
Yeah,
you hear like on the site reporting kind of thing.
That's right. It is.
It is.
He was there, and as a matter of fact, he was telling me the other day when I visited with him that they had dinner that evening with the Solicitor General from Arkansas, who's the person who argued the case, the Dobbs case.
I bet
so we have some inside information, and we'll speculate on where that leak came from. That's certainly unprecedented.
Yes.
Yeah, go ahead. Do we have a prayer to open us up with?
Okay, this is from Pope Benedict XVI. God of peace, bring your peace to our violent world, peace in the hearts of all men and women, and peace among the nations of the earth. Turn to your way of love those whose hearts and minds are consumed with hatred. Strengthen us in hope, and give us the wisdom and courage to work tirelessly for a world where true peace and love reign among nations in the hearts of all. Amen.
Thank you very much. We will be right back in a couple of minutes here with Chuck Hurley from the Family Leader. You're listening to Faith on Trial on Iowa Catholic Radio.
Thank you, Fitness by Design, for your support of Iowa Catholic Radio. Driven to help you reach optimal health through private and semi-private training, group fitness classes, Beamer, and massage. Learn more at fitnessbydesigndm.com.
Hello, I'm Sarah Herm, and I'm honored to share my story with you. Join me Thursday, June 2nd for the annual gala benefiting Intervisions Healthcare. I made a choice that I regretted, but I was able to reverse my chemical abortion. As a medical nonprofit, all proceeds from the event support the life-affirming work Intervisions provides abortion-minded women in need, women who find themselves in similar situations that I did just 4 years ago. For more information, visit ivhcare.org, and I look forward to meeting you on Thursday, June 2nd.
Thank you, Caldwell Parish, for underwriting Iowa Catholic Radio. Conform to the wishes of the deceased and to Catholic liturgical burial traditions. Caldwell Parish Funeral Home, Des Moines' only Catholic-owned and operated funeral home. CaldwellParish.com.
Hello, this is Steve Raid, inviting you to join me along with Matt Wilcom and Father P.J. McManus for the Iowa Catholic Radio's 15th anniversary pilgrimage to the Holy Land, November 11th through the 20th, 2023. We'll have Mass and dinner on the shores of the Sea of Galilee and visit the upper room where Jesus instituted the Holy Eucharist. Plus, my wife Janet and I will be offering invigorating teaching along the way. Not all pilgrimages are created equal. Brochures and details available at iowacatholicradio.com.
Support for Iowa Catholic Radio provided by Paul Martin and Paul Mitchell, owners of Imogene Ingredients. Imogene Ingredients supply specialized feed ingredients for livestock and pet diets to improve maternal and young animal health in both conventional and organic production. And welcome back to is Faith on Trial on Iowa Catholic Radio. We have with us right now Chuck Hurley, who is Vice President and Chief Counsel for the Family Leader. Chuck, you here with us?
Hi, Mike.
How are you doing this morning?
Very blessed. How are you guys?
Just fine, just fine. Julie Nelson is with me here, sitting in for Gina Knoll, who's our regular co-host, who is down in Florida assisting a family member move. Her daughter is moving. She's got a new job, just graduated from college, so we wish her well. We're looking forward to having her back, but Julie is here with us today.
It's nice to be here with you, Chuck.
Hi, Julie.
Let's talk about the Dobbs case that we are. Well, first of all, before we go any further, let's talk a little bit about the family leader. There's probably some people in our audience that don't know what the family leader is. Of course, if they live in the central Iowa area, I don't know how they don't. But anyway, why don't you give us a little rundown on what the family leader is and what the family leader does?
Sure. We are a Christian ministry that works with Catholics, Protestants, all people of goodwill to try to bring the truths of the Bible and Christian people to the government. In other words, we have been missionaries to the Iowa State Capitol and then also federally at times with presidential candidates and so forth, and even to city councils and school boards. We try to bring Christian principles such as the sanctity of human life, the sanctity of one man, one woman marriage for life, Christian education. We work closely with the Iowa Catholic Conference and Tom Chapman on religious liberty, school choice, right to life, those sort of things. So I'm at the Capitol during the legislative session, January through April, pretty much every day, and we have a team of 4 lobbyists now, and then we have a staff of about 23 people. We work a lot with presidential candidates, Iowa's first in the nation status, and we work with about 1,800 churches around the state to try to connect Christian people with government leaders, to minister to those leaders, to pray for those leaders, to submit to those leaders, and to partner with those leaders on things like foster parenting, fighting human trafficking, sanctity of human life, that sort of thing.
You've bitten off an awful lot there, and it's something I think that the whole church has been working on for 2,000 years, and that job still isn't done yet.
That's right.
We still need have a long ways to go. By the way, I wanted to thank you before we get started here. When I was in the hospital after my stroke, I got some nice messages from the family leader and their prayers, and you can tell your folks back in the office that I certainly appreciated all that.
Well, you bet. We try to be gospel-centered. We try to be prayerful in all that we do. We're flawed human beings, but we're doing our best to try to bring Christian people and Christian truth into the public square, not just government. We also deal with culture. We do op-eds and radio and TV interviews and that sort of thing. But really our primary focus over the last 25 years of our existence has been to try to affect the public square, especially governor, president, legislature, Congress, with Christian principles. And life, sanctity of human life would be our number one issue.
Yeah, and so that brings us back to the Dobbs case, which is the case that's sitting before the Supreme Court right now that could overrule Roe versus Wade.
Yes.
You were there. You filed an amicus brief in the case. You visited with the solicitor who argued the case before the Supreme Court. What are we looking at? Do you have any ideas about what may be coming down? Obviously, we've seen the leaked opinion, but we know that those aren't always the preliminary opinions aren't always those that survive and are published.
That's right. The hot news this week, of course, Mike and Julie, is that somebody inside the Supreme Court leaked a true, authentic copy of a rough draft opinion from February of this year that was written by Justice Samuel Alito and apparently supported by at least 4 other justices at the time. Not every word of it, but it was a rough draft that indicated that there were at least 5 votes to overturn Roe versus Wade, which, as probably nearly all of your listeners know, was a terrible, wicked decision 49 years ago that overturned the pro-life laws in all 50 states. Even though some states had liberalized their laws somewhat, none of them had gone as far as Roe v. Wade. And the great majority of states in 1973 had strict laws against abortion, including Iowa. And so for 49 and a half years now, 60-plus million babies have died by abortion because of Roe versus Wade. So,
some of the big legal scholars, liberal legal scholars in the country, have criticized Roe because it's just kind of way out in left field. It just there's no legal support for it.
Yeah, and in fact, I would encourage your listeners to read Justice Alito's rough draft opinion, because he goes through and even cites some of those liberal pro-abortion legal scholars who said that actually the decision in Roe v. Wade was a terrible decision from an academic or from a constitutional standpoint, not just from a moral standpoint. So, yeah, it's a terrible decision. The draft opinion takes it to task in many ways over 98 pages. I stayed up till 2 a.m. Tuesday morning reading it and rereading it. And I would encourage your readers to at least skim over it and not just read the liberal news reports about it, but to actually see what's in it. It's a phenomenal decision. But, a phenomenal draft. The decision won't be published probably for several more weeks.
Right, and let's let our listeners understand how this actually works in the court. The senior justice in the majority, after the case has been submitted, they have a conference, and the senior justice, who may or may not be the chief justice in the majority, will assign the writing of the opinion. That opinion then is written by that assigned justice. In this case, it's Alito, and the opinion then is circulated among the members of the court, and it goes back and forth, and he gets edits from this justice or that justice. Some justices will start writing dissenting opinions. Some justices, when it's over or nearly over, will write a concurring opinion. But this stuff is passed around, and it's almost like a committee process where until the draft is accepted and articulated by the court as its ruling, the draft means nothing, right?
Yes, and just to put a little bit of context around this, Mike, you and I talked yesterday.
Right.
Our legal team had the privilege and honor of being in Washington, D.C. on December 1st, the day that this was argued live in front of the 9 judges on the Supreme Court. And we could not get in the courtroom because of COVID, but we were across the street, and we listened to the oral arguments live. And it was obvious to pretty much everybody, pro-abortion, pro-life, everybody in between, it was pretty obvious that there were probably 5 votes based on the question and answers to overturn Roe. But we didn't know until this leak happened just how strong that opinion was to overturn. There was a concern that it would be just a weak, mild milquetoast, kind of, sort of. Roe has some problems, but this is a full rebuttal refutation of Roe. And so I think the leak happened to try to disrupt the strength of this decision and try to get somebody to get scared or go weak-kneed before the decision is rendered fully. And so you're right. This decision is not carved in stone yet. It's not been published. And I think our listeners need to do a couple of things. One is pray that those 5 or more judges would remain strong.
Number one thing always.
Pray and fast.
Right.
Pray and fast. Pray and fast until this decision is published. It could go the other way. As we know, in 1992, there were 5 votes to overturn Roe, and then Justice Kennedy changed his mind shortly before the decision was published. So it went 4 to 5, and we had 30 more years and 30 more million dead babies.
Well, the same thing happened with the Obamacare decision. The Chief Justice switched.
That's right. So we need to pray and fast. And then the other thing that I think our listeners need to be doing is getting prepared for the Iowa situation. Let's say Roe gets overturned. At that point, Iowa will become a destination state for abortion because the Iowa Supreme Court in 2018 issued its own Roe v. Wade type decision. It's called Planned Parenthood versus Reynolds, but it essentially did the same thing or worse that Roe did. It found a supposed fundamental constitutional right to abortion here in Iowa. So even if Roe is overturned at the national level, the states then have authority to limit or not limit abortions in their own state. The way Iowa stands right now, we're in deep trouble. So your listeners need to get aware of that and then be sharing with their friends. We're working on a constitutional amendment here in Iowa. We call it the Protect Life Amendment to overturn that terrible Iowa Supreme Court decision.
Now, that Protect Life Amendment has to pass another legislative session. So it's passed one. It has to pass the next one coming up, which is after this election this year. And then it goes to a vote of the people. So we're kind of a third of the way there. And if the Protect Life Amendment does not pass in Iowa, then we're going to be one of the few open states for abortion.
That's very well said. Very well said. So we do have primary elections coming up June 7th. Our ministry is involved in supporting pro-life candidates in those primary elections against pro-abortion opponents, because if the elections don't go well this June and then this November, that second passage of the Protect Life Amendment won't happen. And so we've got to maintain or grow our pro-life majorities in the House and Senate. Otherwise, we're set back another 3 to 5 to 15 or 20 years.
Yeah, we'd have to start the process all over again.
I just want to just say how important it is to vote in the primaries. I think a lot of people just kind of toss those off, but the primary elections are really key in all this. And I just want to encourage my fellow listeners and Christians to think about that this June.
So true. In fact, there's really about 5 really key primaries. There's 2 that are so stark that there's no question. 2 life at conception, pro-life champions running against our 2 most pro-abortion House members in a primary. And so that's an easy one. There's a few others that you've got pro-life champions running against people who say they're pro-life, but in the back room they kind of undermine the pro-life effort. So if people want to know who's on the ballot and where and that sort of thing, thefamilyleader.com, or they can call me. You can call me on my cell. This is what I do. It's 515-238-9167. 238-9167. Be happy to talk to anybody about the political as well as the policy situation on life.
Okay. Let me look into your crystal ball here for a minute. How do you see the Dobbs case coming down? I know right after the oral arguments, I think the belief was from most people that Roe was either going to be overturned or gutted so much that it wasn't going to have an effect. What are you looking at now?
Well, I think if we will pray, if the security detail around those 5 pro-life or strict constructionist judges will protect them, because, by the way, I don't mean to be a conspiracy theorist or think too darkly, but if any one of those 5 who are for overturning Roe, something would happen to them. They'd have a heart attack, or they'd be shot or something. The vote could go to 4-4, and a tie means that Roe v. Wade would stay in place. And so, this is a very thin margin. People need to be prayerful. If those 5 stay alive and stay with their convictions, which that's what I'm praying for, then I do think Roe is over. I think it's the Alito opinion was obviously very well crafted. It refuted the stare decisis, or the precedent argument that had been used in the last few years to keep Roe. And I think probably 20 to 25 states will say we're going to protect babies. And then the other 20 to 25 to 30 states, the pro-abortion states, I just grieve for them. I think they're going to bring God's wrath on themselves by passing these things like the Iowa Supreme Court did. And so, people, we really need to pray for revival, spiritual and moral and legal revival in this country.
Amen.
Before we let you go, any predictions on who might have leaked the document?
Yeah, my best guess is I can't remember his name. It's a short name. It looked to me like it was you can Google clerk Sotomayor. Sonia Sotomayor has a clerk who's been an old friend of the guy who wrote the article for Politico, and they've talked before. He's been cited in articles, and that's my best guess. Is that Sotomayor's clerk wanted to disrupt the chances of Roe being overturned. He had written earlier a harsh letter opposing Kavanaugh's nomination to the court. So I think most people think it was probably that guy. And then there's all kinds of other wild speculation, but I think he's the most likely candidate.
And then, of course, is the why, and we may never know that.
Well, if your listeners would Google this, the why was it leaked? There's a brilliant article that I read last night on those reasoning. Basically, the bottom line is trying to disrupt and stir up pro-abortion opposition to frighten a timid judge who's in the majority to soften or swing over to the minority position and not overturn Roe.
And it'll be interesting to see how the Chief Justice finally comes down, because he's not been counted on either side yet.
He's a wild card.
Yeah, he's still a wild card.
Chuck, very much so.
Chuck, I want to thank you for joining us today. We certainly appreciate it. Appreciate everything you do with the Family Leader, too. It's a very impressive organization, and we thank you for your time both here and there.
God bless you for what you're doing. Keep telling the truth over the airwaves. It's a tremendous ministry.
Thank you. Will do. Chuck Hurley, who's Vice President and Chief Counsel for the Family Leader. We will be right back in about 2 minutes after these messages. You're listening to Faith on Trial on Iowa Catholic Radio.
Support for Iowa Catholic Radio provided by Mercy College of Health Sciences, where you can chart your course for more.
Mercy College provides unparalleled clinical rotations, hands-on learning, accelerated education, and flexible schedules. Since 1899, Mercy College has been transforming students into healthcare professionals. Guided by Catholic values, our faculty put classroom theory into practice. Students are prepared for roles in service and leadership throughout their own careers.
Learn more at mchs.edu. Mercy College of Health Sciences, mchs.edu.
Support for Iowa Catholic Radio is provided by Bozen the Florist. Valentine's Day, Mother's Day, weddings, whatever the message, say more with Bozen. Bozen.com, 515-244-ROSE. Bozen makes the moment mean more. Iowa Catholic Radio welcomes Scotty McCreery with special guest Allie Colleen.
Give myself 5 more minutes.
Sunday, July 24th at the Iowa Event Center Ballroom.
I'm in between.
Tickets and information available at celebratecountry.org. Sponsored by Ball Team.
Support for Iowa Catholic Radio provided by the Knights of Columbus, Foreman and Pfeiffer Agencies, specializing in life insurance, long-term care insurance, disability income insurance, and retirement annuities. Are you looking for a career? We are in search of men with an entrepreneurial spirit and a strong desire to live Catholic values. Knights of Columbus is seeking field agents to serve throughout the state of Iowa. Visit kofc.org/careers. The Knights of Columbus need you now, and one day you might need the Knights. That's kofc.org/careers to learn more.
And we're back. You're listening to Faith on Trial on Iowa Catholic Radio. Julie, it was an interesting discussion with Chuck today. Your thoughts?
My thoughts are this. We just got to keep strong in prayer and fasting. As Christians, we know who wins the battle, who's won the battle for us, and he who is working in us is greater than anything working in the world. And we have to walk and step into that belief and that declaration that Jesus is victory here. And
That's
we just got, this is a pivotal case. This is what we've been working for years and years and years. And we cannot stop and let up and get comfortable.
There are 2 states right now that are considering legislation that would prevent investigations into the deaths of newborns. You see the ramification to that.
Yes.
Okay, that's post-birth abortion. Those are viable bills right now, and it looks like one is in California, one is in Maryland. They may pass, and if they pass and become law, we're going to have 2 states that are going to extend abortion to the post-birth period. So we've got to stay strong.
We do. The battle is just beginning.
That's right.
Yeah.
Let us close in our prayer here. St. Michael the Archangel, defend us in battle, be our protection against the wickedness and snares of the devil. May God rebuke him, we humbly pray, and do thou, O Prince of the heavenly host, by the power of God, thrust into hell Satan and all the evil spirits who roam about the world, seeking the ruin of souls. Amen. That's it for today. Julie Nelson, thank you for sitting in for Gina.
My pleasure.
We appreciate it. Until next week when we have another Faith on Trial, have a blessed and peaceful week.
Our freedom of conscience and religion is being challenged by laws and regulations imposed by secular society. Faith on Trial with Defender of the Faith, Deacon Mike Mano. Faith on Trial, Thursdays at 10 a.m. on Iowa Catholic Radio, iowacatholicradio.com, and the Iowa Catholic Radio app.